Sup. The opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and Future Bachelor only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity. This fun podcast may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor Podcast.
All right, let's start the show. Whatever. All right, guys. Welcome to Future Bachelor. My name is Sai.
I'm Veronica.
And who else we got on here?
Hi, I'm Alma.
Alma, yeah! And this is episode 115, guys. Yeah. Welcome Alma to the show. Let's give her a round of applause. Yeah. Okay. People love her already. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Great.
You guys doing all right out there?
How do I answer that?
I know, I'm like a deep sigh. I feel like an onomatopoeia is a good,
right.
Just like a.
Well, let's get into a little bit of like how you and Veronica know each other and why you're our guest today. I honestly, first of all, it's my first time meeting you, so this is going to be really interesting as I ask you questions and get to know you on this episode. But I'm really excited, and I like how you're repping that Chicago's jersey right there.
Yeah, we're Chi-Town girls.
Yo, that's what's up. Okay, cool. How do you guys know each other?
Do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Okay, so we met in college at the University of Missouri, MIZ.
Rah.
We met like through friends first because you were in an honors fraternity that I just was always at the parties for. I just knew everybody in it. And then we first I think fully met each other at
alternative breaks.
Yeah, alternative breaks, like opening like games or whatever that we did. And then we lived together for our senior year.
Yeah, so we were roommates. We were on the same side of our shitty little apartment. I can curse, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask that. I've listened to the podcast. Our shitty little apartment. And our apartment was called The Nest. So we were like the Nest side, best side.
Yeah,
I've heard about the Nest.
Yeah, we were the best side. We would wake up and twerk together.
Yes, so we had a morning playlist. We've had moments where we literally cried to each other from inside our rooms across to each other.
Wow.
It's a whole history there.
And we have a collaborative sex playlist.
Okay, so all these things I've heard about before. You're the other half of this? This is crazy.
Yes,
oh my goodness. Okay, so it's just not all madness and V's mind. It all comes with a whole crew of people. That's cool.
No, I help.
That's dope. Like V, I didn't know you had your own little Fly Kids crew going on and stuff. That's dope.
Dude, of course I do. What?
It's cool called. What do you guys call yourself? The Nest?
Yeah.
The Nest,
The Nest crew?
It was like
The Nest Kids?
Our mascot was an owl.
Yeah, because so all of us that lived together was Alma, me, our roommate Allison, and then our roommate Casa. Casa and Alma were both in the honors fraternity, and their mascot was an owl. Allison and I we had like fake covers for a band if we were like a band together, and our band name was the Toucans. So we called ourselves the Nest because we're all these birds flocking together.
The Toucans? That's pretty good.
It's cute.
Yeah.
And then we had Big Brownie, who was our traveling
I
dildo.
hated Big Brownie.
Jeez.
You tried to throw Big Brownie out.
I did, and y'all recovered it and Cloroxed it and put it in a plant pot.
Yeah, and we got him like a little rain jacket.
Yeah, who gave that to him? I can't remember.
Big Brownie was technically dropped on us, but by the boys who lived above.
I'm talking about who gave him clothing.
Casa, come on.
Oh yes.
Wow, you guys are. Wow, this is a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it's
really
we've got a lot of history.
Well, I can't wait to dive a lot more into that. How have you guys been this last week? I know it's been a whirlwind actually for life in general. I know my head's been kind of spinning, so trying to catch how you guys are doing this last week. Everything good?
I mean, good. I don't know if good's the right word.
Well, I mean, I feel you. I think like I'm more of like mentally. Are you guys like all right? Like, are you holding it together for another week? We're coming from COVID. We're going into all this stuff right now. I don't even know what to call these times. Like, what is this called?
I don't know yet. I can't say
accumulation of history.
Yeah. I don't even want to call it just like the revolution because there's been so many, but and I can't say like it's I don't know. I don't have the right to call it something as of right now. I'm just kind of living through it, and we'll see what the history books calls it.
Yeah,
and hopefully they call it something correct.
I mean, this whole time is just going to be just insane to look back on. Like, 2020, it's just going to be such an epic, year to like it's just easy to say too, 2020. It's like a year that you'll always remember, not for good, or maybe it'll be for good things I don't have no idea, but, a lot of stuff is bubbling up in the last week, and we'll get into a lot of that stuff, later on. And Alma is here to talk about, a lot of stuff that, it's just, we've actually not like talked about a lot of serious stuff. We talked about a lot of serious stuff, but we try not to like, veer into that world. But nowadays it's like, there's not much else that we should be talking about besides what's going on right now. And I'm glad you're here to talk with us today about it and stuff. But,
yeah, no, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, V, how has your last week been? What have you been up to?
I mean, as like everybody, I've been, donating, writing letters to officials, trying to protest. I mean, I did do like, fun, regular life things, if you will. Like I had like a pizza competition with some of my friends. We brought our favorite Atlanta pizzas and we judged them and then like drank a ton of wine. So that was fun as we were like sitting, and this was like everything was starting, like, protests and stuff were starting here. This was on this past Friday. So like we were sitting and drinking wine on a balcony and like we were hearing everything. And like it was interesting just to see like how my friends, different friends, all at this gathering, it was all white women, and how they all reacted to that. And like my reaction was very different to many of theirs.
I think, you saying that, I think a lot of people actually probably experienced that over the weekend. That's like kind of something where, and it's not like, I mean, it's just stuff that you're starting to realize about society that like it's like people jump the gun too. Like I don't know if people really feel a certain way sometimes. Like they just haven't gotten time to really think about what they might like their initial reaction might be to something. If you like take a step back sometimes and realize what the context of things are, which I think is smart about maybe saving what you have to say for when you have like thought about all your thoughts and stuff. But I think like the biggest thing I've been out of this weekend was like listening a little bit more than talking. I felt like a lot of people were finding themselves like with their foot in their mouth or something by just like talking themselves into situations where you're just like, dude, like what I'm saying, like what is your opinion right now, like, because it's like that's not like that important, like there's other things that need to be heard. So I kind of feel you on that, V. Like, everyone kind of had like a little different reaction to all the news, and it was coming at us like at different angles, like so I can imagine. What else you got into?
And then I guess my hometown friends and we did like a little virtual game night thing. Also interesting, like we talked a lot about like our different curfews and stuff that we were under, because like a lot of them live up in the Chicagoland area still, and they're under an indefinite curfew, I think, until like the most areas and stuff. Like I know the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, has been like, it's indefinite until I say so. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting vibe to hear, like as we're like playing our games and we're like doing stuff, and they're like, oh well, where was I gonna go? Nowhere.
Right.
So.
I think I was at someone's place and they were like, yeah, curfew. I'm like, what, dude? Like we just got here. Like I legit just like took a shower and got ready like a half an hour ago, and I already have to go home. So, yeah, that's been interesting. Well, we'll dive into a lot more of that stuff a little bit later, but why don't we get through some quick hits at the moment? Quick hits! V, what do we got for some quick hits?
I feel like you'll never live up last week's like segue. It was just one of the best segues to quick hits ever. And I know, I'm sorry, but...
I'll do better. I'll start.
But it was just so good. So I just, I'm just holding you accountable.
Okay.
Anyway, so
thanks.
Kylie Jenner, supposedly youngest self-made, heavier quotes, self-made billionaire, excuse me, is kind of a fraud. So Forbes went in on her being like, hey, actually, now that we look at everything, and especially because you like sold off like half your company, like you're not worth $1 billion at all. And of course, like even you could see they brought up a bunch of different things of how, I mean, it's Kris Jenner and it's that whole family, like they're thirsty as hell. Like they were like manipulating a lot of different numbers or things to like, they manipulated getting her on the Forbes cover because Kim had a Forbes cover back in like 2016 or whatever. So they're like, okay, how do we get Kylie on there next? So, I mean, this isn't really like surprising at all, but it's just like, it even proves, like, I feel like on this show, we have talked a ton about, like, if Kylie's self-made, she isn't. If, like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it just proves, like, they're an extremely manipulative, privileged group that is just, like looking for ways to be on covers of magazines.
I was seeing, like, there might be, like jail time or something. Have you seen
because there's,
that?
like, forged documents and things like that.
Damn.
So, yeah, there could be.
So how close are you, Alma, to being a billionaire? What you got in that bag?
She's like, I just got my master's. I'm student debt.
Super debt right now because I decided to go and get another degree.
Oh.
So
Okay.
So
respect.
No, nowhere near close, but I did cackle a little bit when I saw this because I was like, of course. I mean, the self-made thing was already like the biggest laugh I ever had in my life when I saw that. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So no, to answer your original question, not close. Not close.
Is it bad that like I kind of like, it's like, ha, like when you see something happen to like one of them or something?
No. Like I mean, I'm kind of.
It's bad. I know. I'm a hater. I don't want to be
Kylie's
like
always
this,
been my least favorite. I've always said that. She's my least favorite because she's always been the one for the youngest people putting out like kind of like the worst like representation / example of anything. So.
Yeah, I literally follow them strictly to see the baby pictures.
Yeah,
I love
Stormy.
Stormy, to see Shy, to see Northwest drag Kim again. Like,
North is the best.
They are all I live for. But them, I scoff at every situation like this that happens to them, to be honest. So
well, I guess we'll just have to see what happens with all her millions because I think she'll be fine. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, she'll be fine.
I mean, if she goes to jail, then maybe her sister Kim can bail her out. You know what I'm saying?
While taking selfies on the way.
Right.
Exactly.
They can make a book about it. But what else we got, V?
Okay, so decently well. I mean, he's a very famous YouTuber, Jake Paul. I don't know why anybody follows him. He's a piece of shit. But he was seen during a lot of these different protests and things. He was seen kind of going through a mall when there was other looters or vandalizers doing those activities. And so then people were calling him out as like, he's like worth millions of dollars. And people are like, okay, like homeboy's out here like looting a mall. Like, what is the point? And I mean, the Pauls, like him and his brother Logan Paul have like a history of just being problematic and awful. Like, we've talked about, I think it was Logan Paul who took the videos, photos or whatever at Suicide Forest in Japan, I believe it was. Yep. And so, he like came out being like, I didn't participate in looting, but I'm like, but you still like stole the show away from like the actual things that were going on because like everybody then focused on you being with looters in this one space. So
yeah, I think overall, being like one those type of I guess like a YouTuber or a vlogger, you get caught up in having to like always create the next like crazy video or something like that. Them especially. So I could see them just like trying to get up in the madness of like everyone looting and going crazy and trying to film like a crazy video and stuff. And I don't know. It's just like it's crazy out there right now. I'm not really sure what people are doing. Honestly, the crazy part to me, it's like just just like last week we're like not like trying even to be around people and stuff, and like now it's just like that's all out the window, like completely. No one cares about COVID right now, really. I mean, I guess they're wearing masks still and stuff, but like it's just like it's crazy.
I wouldn't say that no one cares about COVID, but it's like it's the risk that people are willing to take right now, and some people can take it. That's like another thing.
Yeah,
like I think it's to consider, because there's a lot of people that I know that want to protest and go out there, but they're immunocompromised or
they live with immunocompromised people.
Exactly. And so like it's just like one of those things, like, which is why there's so many people that are like, there's different ways to protest, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to
right. Jake Paul might need to just figure out what he needs to be doing right now instead of going through where looters are and stuff. So
yeah, he gave like a little bit of money to different, I think, bail funds, but okay. Like whatever.
I don't know this man, so
what else we
You're like
got?
the Kiki. I don't know this man. Next up is Nickelodeon. Actually aired this 8-minute 46-second kind of like break in programming where it said I can't breathe, and it was just breathing, and so it was to represent the amount of time that the officer was on George Floyd's neck that led to his death. And also, like, this is just a cool, like, people are like praising Nickelodeon for this, obviously. Like, Nickelodeon is known for being like a kid and teen network, and they reposted their like Declaration of Kids' Rights, which is something that they haven't probably like posted or done or shown in years, but it was all about like, as a kid, I have the right to be like seen, heard, like my rights matter. And that, I'm supposed to be treated with equality. Like it's helping like, establish like those things in kids early on. And it was such a powerful message for like a major network, especially one aimed at youth, to put out there. And I think it's like, that's probably like the best way that a platform like that could have done that. I was really impressed, to be honest.
That is pretty crazy. I mean, that's first of all money, that you're just, they're paying for that, and I think that's a pretty incredible statement for Nickelodeon to be like the first one to, do something like that. Have any other stations or like networks done anything similar or that you've heard of?
Not that I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either. But yeah, I agree. I think this is a good conversation starter for some of the kids, especially the ones that don't know what's happening right now or don't completely understand. Like, hopefully this can start some conversations.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Like, I feel like a lot of people I saw that were posting about it were like, Nickelodeon was monumental in my childhood. Like, they always like had different programs like with their kids news and stuff like that. So they've always kind of been like ahead of the ball with that kind of thing. And I think it's like so important to have that, like, as you said, in these kids, to like have them asking their parents. Cause I think I've seen a lot of different stuff about like, is it too early to talk to my kids about racism or whatever? And it's really important to be like, no, like it's not, like it's probably
either that, they're gonna be learning it like unintentionally, like as they grow up, if you don't teach them about like it, yourself.
Exactly.
Right. And who's teaching them? Like,
right.
What's the message they're getting if you're not starting it at home?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Just reading about, just trying to like educate yourself and stuff about all these things. It's just there's a lot to catch up on that we should have been doing a long time ago. But what else we got?
All right, I wanted to talk about the Blackout Tuesday / The Show Must Be Pot. So I'm sure everybody listening to this saw all the black squares or some sort of format of that this past week on social media. So that was technically born out of two Atlantic Records senior directors that are Black women, Brianna Adjamang and Jamila Thomas. And so like they really wanted it to be like, hey, the music industry benefits predominantly off of Black art. So they definitely wanted to be like, okay, this is like us being like, we can't act like business as usual. And like, we have to, you know, do this visual, bold, like kind of thing of like, okay, let's amplify the voices that are actually part of this movement and things like that. And that was like from, you know, the idea of a music industry and how they, you know, benefit without a lot of like action off of black people. And so then that kind of got spun out into a larger movement with more people participating in it. And I guess like I kind of wanted everyone's thoughts on that, because I think it kind of in the game of telephone got either co-opted, changed, not always carried out the correct way.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, I'll just give like kind of like my my reaction to it. Like to me, it's for a cause. Like, you know, you wanna make sure that people are knowing of the cause and know of like what to, you know, resources, places to go and do at the different type of stuff. You know, right now I'm like it's very interesting too, because like there's a lot of like you know, the silence talk and stuff. You know, people are kind of being put in positions where typically they wouldn't even talk on anything close to this. It's just not their like character to, you know. Like, so, you know, it's also on a person to, you know, feel comfortable talking about things. Like some people just don't like communicate at all, you know, and it's just rough. Like right now, you know, everyone, you know, wants to be part of the conversation, and they feel like they're like, and might be right, and some people might be wrong and stuff. But I was interested because, like, you know, I had my thoughts on it too, only because like the blackout thing, you know, the confusion with like the hashtag with like, you know, Black Lives Matter, and immediately everyone trying to like stop people from hashtagging that because of the information that might have been on that hashtag, the resources on there for people to help the movement and stuff. But then, you know, someone like Barstool, like, you know, the guy, what's his name? I always forget his name.
Dave Portnoy.
Yeah. You know, he put his video out today, and I was very interested to hear kind of like your guys' take on his take on it, because he was saying how, you know, the blackout thing is actually like muting, you know, other news. That's how we're getting our news right now. And I thought it was a pretty interesting point. But like you said, like I feel like it spun out like into its own things. Like some people might have been doing it, might have been just only posting about, you know, the news and posting this stuff. Like I think moreover, I think it was supposed to not post like promote your own personal stuff and that type of thing that day and everything. So, you know, I mean, I'm that's my perspective of it. I didn't read too much into, you know, the move. I posted the black because, you know, I obviously support it. I support, you know, everything going on right now. Everybody needs to be able to voice something, like, you know, go out and do something, like, you know. I do understand why being silent is hurting everything too, like, you know. So it's just a crazy time right now, crazy time. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of things, a lot of conversations happening between people right now. I'm having. What do you guys think, like, of you know, Blackout Tuesday? Is it like going to be an annual thing we do every? Because I could see this being like a dope thing. Like his point is like, you know, maybe later on when we've gotten through this stuff, we like pick a day where like we do this, you know, and stuff. But is it going to be like an annual thing that we do every, you know, what is it, June 3rd, June 2nd? And what do you guys think about it yourselves?
I think, yeah, just kind of hitting on like what people were saying, like, because there was a lot of people who reposted after the Blackout Tuesday thing being like, hey, if you already put Black Lives Matter on there, like you have to completely take down your post and then put it out. But like, obviously not everyone did that. And the backfire of that was that when you went to the hashtag Black Lives Matter, it's a bunch of black squares when we should have information on there. So like, I think the movement was good, like the intention of it was good, but what was like the impact of it? And I feel like the impact is what really matters for it. I don't know, because I posted for Blackout Tuesday as well. And I think people misread it, especially if they logged on, put the black square, and then just logged off for the rest of the day. Like that, you kind of missed the point of it. Because you just kind of followed what everyone else was doing rather than actually being informed of what this actually means. So like that didn't mean to stop posting stories or posting like resources or whatever it might be. Just kind of what you were saying, Sai, like it was just to stop normal posting that you would do any other day to promote yourself or promote your business or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, me and Veronica have had this conversation like a lot actually about like thoughts and prayers. You know, when like tragedies happen, like massacres or like, you know, mass shootings or something like that, or a terrorist attack, you know, everyone's always like, they feel like they have to post like my thoughts and prayers, like go out to like what does that do if you like really think about it? What does that do for anything for those people? And I essentially kind of feel like that about this, like in that sense, like people felt like they had to do that. Like it's a nice gesture. Like, you know, I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that, but like, is it just a gesture? Like, is it just like, are we just doing it because everyone else is doing it? If you don't do it,
if you let it be.
Well, I mean, yeah, right. But like, it's like, if you don't do it, then like, you're just a bad person. Like, does that mean that? Like, I don't know. Those are the things I'm wondering nowadays. Cause I've been seeing like the posts, like from black people being like, you know, to all my white friends out there, like, I haven't heard anything from you, or like really getting kind of like, you know, which rightfully so, like, you know, I understand that sentiment, but is that, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, calling it fair is not even
like if it's performative. Like, is it performative if they post something? I mean, that's a huge thing.
Is there a better way to get people involved or to speak up besides like calling them out? I don't know. Maybe calling them out is the way we got to do this stuff.
I think it's like a mixture of that. Like, you have to call people out, but like for example, like I know people who are not active on social media at all. And when this was happening, they jumped on social media and started posting things and things like that. I've also seen people who are very active on social media and are completely silent right now and are not posting things like that. So it's just like, because we also don't know what's going on behind this. So like some of the people who are silent right now and maybe are not posting, we don't know if they're
signing like they could be donating, they could be whatever.
Right. Right. And not everyone is as vocal about it as on social media wise. And so like, I think the difference that needs to be made, like if you're constantly active on social media, then why is it stopping now? Like when this is happening, that's how I feel. Cause I'm like, you have no problem posting about your weekend brunch, or you have no problem posting about this cool thing or your dog or whatever it might be. But as soon as this was happening, like now it's like radio silent. Like that to me is like,
I feel you, but Alma, I'm like also like, I also feel like it's like you're saying, like when it comes to donating and all this stuff, it's a weird, like, it's a delicate dance because legit, some people will just go out and do this stuff and film this stuff and show themselves being out there just to say they were out there and to do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know, I don't like want to promote like things that I'm doing, because I'm not trying to promote that I'm doing them. Like I'm doing them because I'm doing it for, but like we're in this weird like catch-22. If you promote it, you look like you're promoting yourself doing it, but if you don't promote it, like you're not like getting the message out there, and like it's just like a weird time. Like it's very weird like in that sense, like with the input, like, but we have social media and video. Like that's the difference of what our generation has than, you know, the generations that came before that didn't have these tools. So if anything, this is, to me, the crazy part is that we've had these tools for so long. Like is it just like that we've been cooped up for so long that we're just like, wait a second, they're still killing us like out there, like, you know, like, and we're not even on the streets right now. Like that's the crazy part. But for years, like we've been documenting like cops killing black people, like, and I just don't know. It's just crazy to me that like now it's all just like fumed up to this point.
I mean, I think a big thing about it is like, especially with the George Floyd video, like people saw him like die right then and there. Like they saw him alive,
and like
and then they
multiple officers standing and watching.
Yes, and that's and
not doing anything.
And I'm not saying like, oh, this like it's a buildup, it's like when you're like angry with a bunch of things. Let's say you're having like a shitty week, and then you knock the milk over, and then you just like crash and burn and start crying, and like, or like want to fight someone because you're like, this is it. But I shouldn't compare that to spilling over milk. That's horrible of me. But like it's just like, it's that anger that builds up, and it just takes one thing for people to be like, this is it, I'm done. I'm done. Like, I can't.
Like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. And so like it's just, people are angry, and like, the more anger that someone builds, it has to explode somewhere. And when it starts becoming a whole community that is like angry and like just exhausted from things are happening, we're like, I can't sit down anymore and just share a video, or I can't sit down anymore and just share a post. There's something that actually needs to happen that's tangible. I mean, it's the same thing with the civil rights movement that happened. Like, people were just like, we're done. They were done with being killed, with being ignored, with being put into like this separate class system, basically. And so the George Floyd video was that tipping point for the community. And it was an outcry everywhere because of how impactful that video was to everyone. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can't say like how this video is much more horrible than what we saw with Ahmaud like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, that was also,
I think it's like a tinderbox or whatever you like call, whatever that analogy or whatever that is. But like, and I also feel like the idea of all of us being quarantined inside and, we're just being bombarded with images, things like I think it's we don't have as many things to distract us. Like, we don't have as many pretty things to distract us right now, because it's just the nature of what's going on. And I think that is just kind of becomes like the perfect storm for people being like, all right, like, nah, like, this ain't it anymore. And like, we got it. Like, this is now the time.
I found like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying, Alma?
No, you're fine. Just like kind of going with the COVID thing, like, Black communities are being hit hard with coronavirus.
Disproportionately.
Yeah. And so like we're already having to, and I say we like as collective, but like, we're already having to deal with all of this shit with trying to find jobs, trying to make sure that we can pay rent without this like stipend, or having the measly 1,200 while people have like 2, 3, 4 kids in the house that they're trying to pay for and help with school. And if they have internet, hopefully they're able to go to school. So it's all these things already stacked against the community. And then we still have to deal with this racist bullshit. Like, it's just like, it's mind blowing. Like, people are really frustrated and tired right now. So yeah, it's just the perfect storm of everything happening.
Well, I think like my hot takes, like just over, like, I mean, we're going to dive into more conversation here in a little bit, but like my biggest hot takes over like the weekend of like, it took like people like a couple days, like to like comprehend things, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it was like, the people that were like really hating on the looters, it's like, dude, like, or like all these stores they have insurance, like they're going to be replaced, like all this stuff will be fine. Like, there's a bigger issue here. And that's like that was like one conversation I was seeing happening a lot, was like, the looting and obviously, and then I also just was like how long it took for people to realize like what Black Lives Matter actually like means, like, like like for years people have been having like conversations of like, around it or whatever like that, but like now it's just like it's clear as day, like, what this movement has been meaning the whole time to people. And it's been crazy to see like it takes so long, like for people that like people will be like, now they're like, yeah. But it's like, where was that like, years ago when all this stuff was happening, like Black Lives Matter. Oh, actually there was like this really good, I think it was a TikTok or something. You guys might have seen it, but it was like this white girl like doing a TikTok and this black guy reacting to it, but she's explaining what like Black Lives Matters means, like really like in layman's terms. Like she's like, my house is on fire or something like that. You seen that one? And I was just like, holy shit, like I don't even understand like how like you guys need to like have this broken down to you that like basic for you to understand what's happening right now and shit. So it's like, I mean, this is, yeah. I mean, it feels like a revolution, like to me. You know, I've never really been through anything like this, like before, in my life. So, yeah, definitely, it's been crazy. I mean, a lot of things have been making me go yikes this week, V. But what were a couple moments maybe that made you go yikes?
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I mean, like,
something
these
that you
are,
could call out right now in this specific segment.
I mean, I kind of like giggled to myself as I was like writing up our outline for this week because I'm like, everything is a yikes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's like that's like the name of the episode is like yikes moment of the episode. Yikes episode.
But I had like a couple of things that like honestly these all could have melded into one category, but I had a couple of things that like definitely stood out as more of like, yo, like what are you doing? Yeah. Which one of them was with Virgil Abloh, who we know him for Off-White. He's like Louis Vuitton's creative director. He's pals with Kanye. Well, I don't know if they're still pals. They had their falling out. I don't know if they're back, but can't follow them. But, you know, so he's a black man who made it. And he posted to his Instagram story him matching funds with somebody for, I think it's the Miami, their bail fund. And he, you know, gave them $50.
Yeah, I saw that.
And people came for his ass because I'm like you can't even. You could buy maybe a pair of socks for that much money.
No, you want to know what I saw?
You can't because
you could buy you could buy one sock.
$10 for the sale price, sir.
I saw like someone had like very quickly on his Wikipedia page, like they had like his whole description.
Yes, yeah.
And then they were like, and also gave $50 to the Black Lives Movement. Someone updated his Wikipedia. Oh man, that's great.
But he came back and apologized and said that he donated more or whatever. But it's like, bruh, and like some people are trying to be like, it was him showing that he matched like whoever. Like people asked him, I was like, he's a fucking like he has money. He can like match by being like, I'm gonna give like $10,000.
See, that's that delicate dance like of like promoting you donating. Like how is that even bad? That could have been just one of his donations, like, you know what I'm saying, and he's just like trying to get people to see like you don't even have to donate that much, just donate what you can, and y'all just like jump on him, change his Wikipedia page.
Nah.
But you have the means. That's the problem. It's like it's not like you don't. You were like, oh shit, this is my last $50.
No, I know, but I'm saying like maybe he done like already 5 of them. He just didn't post all 5 of them. He just posted.
Well, no, it was, but I think the matter of this is
you have
like
5 of them. I don't know. I'm just trying
like,
to give you the benefit of the doubt. Alma, give me a break.
And he should have just done 500. Like that's the thing. Like it's just
yeah, but if you did 500, y'all still would be killing him.
yeah.
No shit. There's no winning with this guy.
But like that's the thing. Like you could have done the post. Like I mean, Drake did like however much he donated was $100,000. I think it was $100,000.
I think it's $100,000. Yeah.
But like I'm not saying he needs to do like Drake donation, but he could have easily done the match, done way more than it, and been like, please do not feel you have to donate $10,000. Like
he knows his means.
Nobody saw that and was like, shit, I can't donate if I don't have $10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, guys. I'm just trying to help Virgil out. Throw him a bone.
No, I don't think he needs your help. He can help you. He doesn't need your help.
Yeah, no, Virgil, can I get $50, bro? Come on.
I'd be like, can you spend it on my socks? And he's gonna be like, no, you can't.
Yeah, fuck Virgil. What else made you go yikes?
All right, so Lea Michele, known for being in Glee, known for being in Scream Queens. She's been in a couple other like things. I mean, she's a well-known actress, performer, whatever. She, you know, as many. Well, actually, not as many celebrities as I would like, have been tweeting or posting or whatever, saying stuff like being all like, I stand with Black Lives Matter, blah. And then a lot of her co-stars or former, co-stars from different shows kind of were like, interesting, because when I was on the show with you, you like used a lot of racial slurs or like talked about like shitting in my wig or like said that my afro was like whatever. And so like she got a lot of like, or people just even like, so one of her co-stars said like that whole like shitting in the wig, that whole stuff. Some of them, other people came out being like, yeah, like she said other stuff. She like referred to extras as cockroaches, which is race-based kind of like thing. She, and then some of the other like people like Amber Riley, other people were just like kind of like being like, yep, like sipping the tea, like this is real, this happened. So like, there's no denying it. She definitely has done a lot of shitty racial things. And to that point, like she had a partnership with HelloFresh, and HelloFresh dropped her ass. So
do you think like this, like the race thing is kind of like it can like work like the Me Too movement, like where people try to stand out like in the Me Too movement, and then because they spoke up about like something for a good cause, then they go back in your history and find something that it totally negates like your stance on it in the future and stuff. Like I feel like I've seen a lot of examples of that in the last week of where like obviously like the race thing is coming back. We talk about like the Jimmy Fallon one last week and stuff. Like, I feel like a lot of those things are going to be coming out now because we're being forced, like not being forced, but we have to speak up, and it's like you either speak up on it or you don't. And like even if you are speaking up on it and coming from a place of you came from a place of racism in the past, like it's probably going to still like shine out now. It's kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool to see like that type of stuff come out in the spotlight.
Yeah, I feel like this is like kind of goes back to the performative thing. Is like, okay, like how much are you actually like about Black Lives Matter? Because it didn't seem like it back then.
Right.
And so like, I mean, what was her apology for? Because I didn't read it.
I'm reading her apology. I'm like, she, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't ever making these specific, while I don't remember ever making the specific statement, and it's like in reference to like what one of her co-stars said, or like, important lessons, blah, blah, blah. Like, I my own behavior was perceived. It was all very like coded language of being all like, I don't remember making these. Like, I never have judged others by this. Like, whether it was my privileged position or perspective that caused me to be perceived as insensitive or inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just all like, or maybe it was my immaturity. Like, she's not like just being like, yeah, I said shit. She's all like, I was maybe perceived this way because I was, immature. Like,
she's being defensive.
Yeah. Or like stressed and on set. And like, and she's like, I'm a couple of months from being a mother.
But what are you supposed to do, though, if you don't remember doing that stuff? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you, like, for real, though, like, I mean, if you did say those things, like, and, like, maybe, like, if you said those things and you didn't think you were being racist, like, you might not even remember saying those type of things. Like, I don't know. I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, it's intent versus impact. You may not have meant it, but the impact that it brings to someone else, that's what actually matters.
Right.
Like, if I said, like a racial slur to you and I was just like, oh, ha ha ha, it's like the same thing as like people being like, oh, don't be too sensitive, it was just a joke, when that's some real shit like you shouldn't say to someone. Like, it's intent versus impact. She may not remember, but that person remembers.
Right. I mean, so what was this again though? Like, she called somebody, like one of her co-mates or classmates.
So the first castmate that spoke up was who was it? It was Samantha Ware. And so she said, LMAO, remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Because I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would shit in my wig, amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question my career in Hollywood. And then like other people came out saying like, how like people like being like, yep, I remember this, or like, yep, like,
yeah, if there's witnesses, then that's pretty bad. I always wonder, like, it's like a he said, she said, but like if other people are being like, no, that definitely happened, like, then shitting in someone's wig and saying that is like horrible. What the fuck? I always felt like she like on her time on the show, she thought she was the shit.
Well, she
Like
and
she
that's,
was like
even,
she thought she was gonna
continued
be like
thing
this
for
huge
her.
star and stuff, like movies.
She's a
and-
known diva in the industry. Like it's that like that's the thing. It's like this is persistent behavior. I think that's probably the bigger issues. Like this is across multiple castmates, across multiple shows and things that she's been on. And I think that's when it's like, okay, like yeah, like this is the real deal.
Yeah, this is who she is.
Well,
Or was.
Well, it's
But-
kind of funny. We've been talking about, current times throughout our whole show already, but why don't we dive a little deeper into it and into our guest this week, Alma. Again, thank you for being on the show. I've really enjoyed talking to you thus far, but I would like to kind of get to know you a little bit more and our listeners. How'd you grow up? What's your background? What'd you go to school for? What are you doing now? And
Yeah.
and
So
how do you feel about this current state of affairs?
I am from Aurora, Illinois, and so it's about 30 minutes away from where V grew up, about 45 minutes to an hour. I was on West Side.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Chicagoland suburbs.
And so 45 minutes, an hour away from downtown Chicago. But went to Mizzou with Veronica. I actually went for vocal music education down there. And now I have my master's in, it's a Master of Arts in counseling, but I'm specifically focused in higher education and student affairs. So I want to be higher administration. I eventually want to be a president of a university. I want to get into consulting, and my passion really lies in diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially when it comes to access and retention for marginalized communities. I'm not about admissions and just being we have 50% of our incoming class are students of color, but then you can only retain 15%. That's a huge issue. And so my passion lies into how do we actually support marginalized communities on campus to actually have them have a positive experience on campus, feel supported, don't experience the ridiculous microaggressions, because institutions were specifically made for white, cis, rich men. So that's a little bit about me. Now I'm in Denver. And so I'm going to be working in August at a different university as a diversity coordinator. So that'll be awesome. Kind of do some community outreach as well. But yeah, let's see. How have I been during all of this? It's I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. I'm definitely trying to find the balance of staying informed about everything, but also trying to keep my sanity so that I can continue to push forward. This past weekend, I had to take a social media break. I was playing Animal Crossing on the Switch. I was watching anime. I was trying to enjoy the outdoors, and obviously my phone's still blowing up with notifications, but I don't know. I'm trying to find what my part is, because I hurt my ankle last week, so I couldn't go protesting this weekend. I have to have the means to run with everything that's happening right now. And so I'm hoping this weekend that I can go out there. But yeah, it's right now I'm very much trying to focus on what's my part and not being performative. If I'm making a social media post, am I putting my money where my mouth is? Am I actually signing the petitions that I'm telling everyone else to sign? Am I donating to the funds as much as I can? I'm still trying to recover from my educational debt right now. And so there's only I can't even do the $50 that Virgil did.
It's all good. Virgil got you covered.
Thanks, man.
Well, I would like to know kind of how have you dealt with racism earlier in your life, and how is it affected, obviously, to be so involved in for education and all that stuff and what you want to do for your career. I would have to think like it affected you pretty greatly, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm mixed. I'm Afro-Latina, I'm Black and Mexican. And so it's always been
I saw that, Ramos. I like
I'm
that.
here.
That's what's up.
Thank you. My first name means soul in Spanish. Everyone tells me because they don't believe I'm Mexican. So they're like, do you know what that name means? And I'm like, no, please educate me, white man. What my name means. But yeah, it was very much like growing up trying to figure out like, where is my place? Because it was always like, if I go to the Black kids, they're like, oh, well, you're not really Black. And if I go to the Mexicans, they're like, you're definitely not Mexican. Like, can you even speak Spanish? Which I can't speak it fluently. And so it's always this like, you're not Mexican enough type of thing.
What about like where you grew up though? Like where there was like a lot of Black and Mexican people?
For the first half of my life, there was. So I was at a school that was in Aurora, Illinois. And so Aurora, depending on which side you're on, the east side is very much like Latinx based. So a lot of Mexican people out there, a lot of Puerto Rican people out there. West side is a mixture of that, as well as a lot of Black communities out there. So I grew up on the west side. So there was actually more students of color at that school. And then 6th grade, I moved to I'm not even going to name the town because it doesn't even deserve to be searched, but a predominantly white neighborhood and school. And so it was a complete shift for me. Like I remember my parents even having a conversation before I went to this school. They're like, if you see anyone with Confederate flags there, like, don't freak out. Like you just try not to freak out. And like, sure enough, like there was a girl wearing like a Confederate flag necklace. And I was like, this shit exists in Illinois? Girl, neither did I. I didn't know that swimsuits existed with Confederate flags until I went to this freaking district. And so like, it was a very big adjustment. And even like, I had a lot of white friends at my school and I was in all the honors classes and stuff like that. So it was a lot of just me being a person of color in a lot of these environments, and not really having a word for some of the shit that I went through in high school until I got to college and someone was like microaggression. I was like, yo, that was like all of
like, this is it.
Yeah, this is like everything like people saying that they couldn't mess with me because it would be a hate crime. People, yeah, girl. It was I won homecoming queen there for during my senior year, and straight up 2 white dudes was like, I can't believe this N-word won homecoming queen. I was like, y'all don't even know me. Like, how the hell are you mad? And so it was a lot of like, but my mentality because of my parents was like, just survive, just make it through. Like you just have to survive. And so like, I very much kept my head down during that time to make it through. I get to Mizzou, also predominantly white.
Yeah.
So very, very white and very much like still hanging out with a bunch of white people because I was in the School of Music. A lot of the students there were also white. And then I also got involved, which a lot of the students there are white. And so like I experienced that. And then our senior year hits. It
was the beginning of our senior year where it was, fall of 2015 at University of Missouri was a wild, wild time where, that first of all, that was the fall that Ferguson happened. And so a large part of our student population are folks from St. Louis area. And a lot of our Black students that are coming from St. Louis area are actually from like Ferguson. So that was all going on. And then that was when, Peyton was our president, our student body president, a gay Black man, one of our very good friends.
With an Afro-Latina vice president.
Yep, Brenda. And then there was a lot of different events that happened that were, he had some racial threats. I mean, we're in the middle of Missouri. There was different like KKK folks potentially coming around. There was then there was like a poop swastika in a residence hall. There was what else was there?
There was a truck that had a Confederate flag that was circling Black students. It was a lot of, it was Concerned Student 1950 that made these demands of our president, and they weren't met. And so homecoming, they stopped them, and they were like, everyone like freaked out, was like, this is not the way to get your attention. You should have emailed them. You should have talked to them. And literally they're like, we did all that.
Yeah, we've been doing it.
And so
kind of a sentiment of today, you know?
Yeah. So there was protests on like our quad. They were camping out and protesting. So like concerned, like, so actually it was kind of like the accumulation, similar to today, accumulation of a lot of different things, because there was the grad students were asking, like the grad students were getting screwed at that point with their different, like their different money and their different like internships or whatever. And so some of like concerned student 1950 like took on some of the like grad students, because a lot of them were, you know, people of color who were like, we need like our stipend, we need our whatever, like we can't not have these things. And then one of the main leaders of that, he was a grad student, he went on a hunger strike until our system president stepped down.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like a huge big thing. And like I was, something that I'm like grateful for to this day was that our choir director, who is Dr. Crab, who we had an interesting relationship. he was very much like infuriated and was like he wanted to do something with his role. And so he like made us learn this music, and like we went out there and protested with the people that were on the quad. And so like it was a lot of those. And then V and I had conversations with our neighbors upstairs, and like they were like, I don't understand what's happening. And I'm like sitting there, and I was just like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, y'all claim you're my friend, but you don't agree with this. Like, and so it was just like, it really showed people's true colors, kind of what we're experiencing right now.
Right.
And so that's kind of like my charge with everything that happened. So first it was like my experience of like K through 12 through undergrad was like, okay, so something's definitely not right within the system. I shouldn't be working this hard to get recognized. Students shouldn't be fucking protesting to have the same rights as other people. Like this should just be something institutions do. Yeah. Plain and simple. And so, so like, even now in my master's program, well, I'm done now.
Woo!
Congrats.
It's just, no more papers. We should do 60 of those for the amount of pages I wrote last semester. But like, even in my school now, like I went to a school that was in downtown Denver. And so like, it was a commuter school. A lot of the students who went there went to school full-time or part-time, but a lot of them worked full-time and lived with their family and things like that. So it's just a completely different community, and kind of seeing how systems are and are not supporting students of color, or how they use diversity as like a mission value or statement to try to get people into the university. But then once they're there, are they actually supporting them?
Right.
Oh, that was my long ass story of how I got.
Well, I wanted to know all that about you, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's good to know people's backgrounds, you know, especially when you talk about heavy stuff. Sometimes, like, you kind of want to know where people's heads are at, and you know, why they think that way. You know, I think an interesting thing, you know, that I was seeing, somebody was talking about how, you know, they're black, and it's like they have to do research on their own, you know, their own history, you know, because like it's been like years and years and years and years of us like being like brainwashed out of like, you know, actually the events that happen, you know, so it's rough out there, like, you know, and right now it's cool to see like the enlightenment coming of so many different people, even if it is, I don't know. So how do you feel about like people waking up right now? Like, is it like a thing where like are you mad at people for like, you know, trying to understand now, as opposed to like, where were you? Like, how do you not understand this whole time? Like, you know,
it's a mixture of both. Like, it's just like, I don't understand like why this is just clicking right now, because this has been happening. And at the same time, like, it took me a while to really understand like why things were happening around me. I mean, growing up in a in a household that they're just like, just keep your head down and just go. Like you're going to have to work. I'm sure like you all could like have heard this or can relate, but like you're going to have to work 10 times harder than the people around you. And that's just how it is. And like a lot of people just expressing like, this is how it is. This is how it's always been. And then nothing has ever been how it's always been. And like reading and like learning about history and things like that, like nothing has ever been how it's always been. And so with people just learning about stuff right now, it's kind of like, part of me is like, fuck, it took you long enough, but like if you're going to be here, this is what you need to do to catch up, because we kind of needed you a while ago, but if you're here now, then this is what you got to do. And so it's like, I'm trying to extend as much of that educational part of myself without flicking people off at the same time. You know, it's just but go ahead.
But yeah, no, but also like I feel like it comes down to like I feel like we both watched like Amanda Seales stuff a bunch, and I do feel like what she said.
Actually, that I saw say that she was going at, it was you that maybe posted it, but she was like, going at people. Don't ask me what to read today or what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like my thing is like I know like for me as like a white woman, like I'm out here, like I consume a lot of different forms of media, and like I know like there's even unlearning, and I feel like I consider myself to be like decently woke, but like I like am out here, there's still stuff that I have to unlearn or whatever, and like there's a ton of resources. Like I feel like it's just so inappropriate for like if someone like me to like be like, hey Alma, like what should I be reading, like because like,
and the amount of texts I've gotten this week that I've said that, like
yeah, like I feel like and it's like once again, like we've talked a lot this episode about like intent versus impact, or like, you know, where your intentions are, and like obviously like that's good intention, like they want to like do the right thing, but at the same time it's like
you're still forcing me to do the labor.
Yeah. Like that you've been doing all this time in the background where they could easily do that labor themselves.
Yeah. Right. It's like, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't think people have as much of an excuse anymore. Like you literally have a whole laptop in your hand with your phone. You can literally Google, right? Well, you have a physical laptop. I meant my phone, but like you can literally type in Google, look up Black Lives Matter and look at resources. You can literally type up Google and look up like police fund. Like there's so many things where I had to personally seek it out. And so it's just like, you can do that too. Like, I don't have to put it like right in front of your face to actually have you do something about it. So it's that you kind of have to gauge, like, people may not know how exhausted I am right now. And I get that. And at the same time, you have all the means in the world to figure this stuff out yourself. I mean, like, just think about like work things. Like if you explained on an email, like yada, 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 like, please do this. And then they were like, oh wait, like, where can I go and get this? And you you either just explained it, or we already had a meeting about this, or
something they could Google themselves.
Exactly. And so it's just like one of those things, like, I expect you to put in that extra effort because I've already had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think it's interesting too to see how people are realizing their like privilege, like, you know, over of other people. You know, myself, you know, I grew up, you know, in a similar situation where, you know, I'm half Indian, half Colombian. I don't speak Spanish, but I grew up around a bunch of white people. So like all that stuff didn't, like, fitting in with my culture really didn't matter. But like also like, because I had to try to fit in with white culture so much, it's like, obviously there's still like weird privilege on me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew I grew up good. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had a lot more stuff, even though I did have like racism, a bunch of different types of racism different in my life. I had to be brown through 9/11, which like sucked, but you know, like, it's just like, it's just, I'll never really even understand what it's like to be black. I just know what it's like to be not white. And, you know, even with that being said, being a person of color, you know, there's responsibility on me to understand, like, you know, I'm trying to understand, like, it's weird you know, being a person of color, not black, because you kind of have to like, it's like two different things you're like navigating, like your white friends and like how they're feeling, and then also like you might be a white, like thinking like what, like your white friends too or something, and where do you fall in line? Like there's like a lot of identity stuff that's happening, like realization.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean the thing is that like nobody's gonna ever know everything about everyone. Like even with me, like yes, I'm Afro Latina, I'm mixed and like and all that, but like I'm also cisgender. I'm also straight. Like there's privilege that comes with that. Like I'm represented in the media sexuality wise. I'm represented in the media gender wise, and so everyone's gonna always have to continue learning. Like and that's all we can do is like have the open mind to continue learning and having to navigate those spaces. I mean, I'm black, but like I have Latin family members that are anti-black.
Right.
Like that I grow up with and that like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just like who use the N-word like freely, like they're one of us, and I'm like, no. And I had a conversation with like some family members and like called them out on it, and like it sucked because I was the only black person in that room, and they like harped down on me, and they were like, well, like we're living, and I didn't have the vocabulary at that time, you know, like it's one of those things when you're in the situations that happened in the past, you don't really have the words to explain why this is wrong. You just know it feels wrong. And sometimes it happens later where you're like, oh, this is probably what I could have said in this situation. And so, yeah, it's having to navigate.
It's funny though, even that, it's not even like maybe even the times sometimes have to catch up to realizing that like things are wrong, not just you, like you know what I'm saying, things that were okay 10 years ago are not okay now,
right?
And you look back on it, you're like, geez, but like when it was 10 years ago when we watched it, we were like, we didn't even bat an eye, like, you know. So
like I don't know if y'all saw the thing when like Disney Plus came out, when the Lizzie McGuire episode, did y'all see it where Lizzie's little brother had Lionel over his little friend who like didn't speak at all, and they drank like Kool-Aid? And then he was like, oh, like Lionel did this like face like it was like sour. And he's like, oh, let me help you out, and poured a whole cup full of sugar in it. Like, it's just like those things that you're like, holy shit. I did not know that as a kid.
No,
I never watched Lizzie McGuire,
that
but that sounds crazy. Yeah, no, that's crazy. But I honestly think like, so how have you feel like, you know, we live in a world of social media and celebrities kind of run those things, and influencers and corporations and companies and stuff. How do you think, what are like some of the good things and some of the bad things you've been seeing like people doing or not doing in like the last week? If you could think of any examples, or just, you know, what people should be doing, like, you know, or things that, I know you don't have all the answers or anything like that, but yeah, it's just a matter of just conversation, getting us going. I like to further think about how I just think it's like, it's new times. Like it's kind of like the Wild West out here. Like some people might be making moves and either they go right or wrong. Just like we were talking about earlier with Blackout Tuesday, like, you know, the sentiment is there, but like, is it actually doing something positive for the movement? I don't know. So, you know, how do you feel like, you know, people have been doing out there?
Yeah, I think right now it's like, I feel like our generation and Generation Z especially are the generations who are holding people accountable now, because now we have the videos to prove things. And so I think Will Smith put like, the racism is never like there's not more racist now. We just have cameras.
Right. Yeah. We just have it on film. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if like some of the things that I've seen with celebrities that have been really good is just like, obviously posting on like social media. I know that Lizzo's been really active on it and like posting like videos of her like expressing like her concerns with this, and I was like where you can donate to, because she's from Minnesota, and so this is from like that happened in her home. But I've seen a lot of people like tweet and use their platforms to really speak out on things, or share posts, or a lot of people who are not Black are kind of being like, I know that I'll never understand, but I stand with you. That post that's been like going around
circulating.
So I've been really happy with people posting on their platforms, and I'm even happier to see when people actually donate or people actually sign the petitions, or being like, this is how much time it takes you to do it. Just do it. Like, I've already done it. Kendrick Sampson, I believe is his name, but he's an actor in Insecure. He's on the front lines, like in LA.
Yeah.
With Amber Riley. Along
with like Halsey, along with like a bunch of other like major people like that.
Exactly. And so I see a lot of people really stepping up, because this is the age of accountability. Like, people are going to call you out if things don't happen. I think I haven't, in regards to celebrities, I haven't seen too many people do bad things other than staying silent. And maybe it's because I don't get them on my feed. Maybe I don't follow them or something.
Yeah, was I seeing like Ellen was like getting kind of like somebody was. I was reading something about like she was getting like backlash for not like addressing it or something like that, and it's like,
yeah,
you know,
I saw her recently put out a post. I don't know. I love Ellen. She does a lot of great things. And she's also said some things that I'm like,
yeah, she's like slightly problematic. So
yes, and just who am I thinking of with the Kevin Hart situation? And she kind of was like, "Well, we forgive you," like kind of expecting collective like LGBTQ community. And I was like, you can't say that. You can't say that. We forgive you. You forgive him. But I've noticed more of the silence from like corporations, and now I'm being like hyper aware of like who's putting pride posts right now that weren't saying anything, because there are
rainbow capitalism.
Exactly. And so like, I mean, that's already problematic like in itself with people who just use it as a promotion piece. And so I'm like, okay, so you're saying something about pride right now, but you were really silent like yesterday or 2 days ago. And so I don't know. It's like,
so you're saying like all eyes are like, they're
I
like,
was just like, wait, what are you gonna say?
no. I'm just saying like you're on alert. Like you're seeing like what's around you. Obviously, like that's like something that's happening.
Yeah, I feel like we're not going to be able to see a lot of the results for this for a little bit after. Like I don't think everything is going to be open up of like who is supporting who until we're way down the line, because I don't know who's supporting like in the background. I don't know what statements that are being said to employees right now. I don't know what statements that are being said for every company right now. I know that Nike put out a statement recently. Nickelodeon obviously had their statement. And so it's just like, I'm just trying to be aware of who's saying something and who's going to stay silent.
Right.
Because that's what's going to really matter. Because I also recognize that a lot of celebrities are processing this right now, you know, like, and don't really have the right words that they feel that they can say something. I think Lena Waithe just put something out, who is very active in the Black LGBTQ community. And they've been posting things here and there. And then they just put like a statement out in regards to like pride. And so we have to give space for people to process as well, you know, like it could do much more harm if someone had put a post right last Thursday and it wasn't formulated well, or if it was all just emotion or rambling.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen some of like the influencers on my feed, some of them being, you know, non-black, white, whatever. The ones that I've really enjoyed, like, is this one like food influencer. This like, she's like she does like a lot of stuff like kind of more vegan, veggie friendly kind of stuff. But like she's been like very open about like her learning process and like what she's doing and what she's consuming. And she's like been very real about like, these are the hard conversations I'm having with my family. And these are like the things that, you know, I'm trying to unlearn. And like I feel like that is like, for me, you know, as a fellow like white person, like I feel like it's nice to see someone who's like not out here trying to be like, hey, like I've got it all figured out now, but is like very self-aware of like, okay, like I know I have this huge platform. I know like I need to be saying something, but like this is where I'm at. This is what I'm trying to do. And like she's been putting like promoting other people like in her feed, being like follow, like she like posted a bunch of like similar, like, you know, like if you like my kind of content, because like she does a lot of like family and food content, she's like, if you like my kind of content, follow these Black creators, like these are the, like, you know, especially like if she's like, especially if my family maybe doesn't look like yours, like this is like who you should be following. And like I think like that's super respectable to be like, hey, like you guys are kind of like on this journey of learning with me, because like I'm not like, I didn't know it. I didn't like, but I'm trying, like I'm doing it. And I feel like that isn't performative, because like she is very like honest and genuine about it. Like she's very like, you know, I sat and read this, like she'll like do what she's like, and I'm like really learning, like I had like this really hard conversation with whoever. And I feel like that is like a great way to go about it, I guess from my perspective, because yeah, like we're not going to be perfect first time around.
I think something else that is really important too is like to recognize like who are the celebrities that also profit and benefit off of Black culture as well. You know, like a lot of the entertainment industry is like it's built off of Black culture and stuff. And so I'm like, you wouldn't have a job or be making money if it wasn't for Black people. So like, why aren't you speaking right now? I mean, I think Kehlani did a really good post about it, and she went on about it, but being like, y'all wouldn't be here without us. Y'all wouldn't have this creativity without us. And so you need to speak up right now, because your voice needs to be heard now more than ever.
Right, I think I saw somebody's be like, I know all you TikTokers out there that are dancing to Savage better be.
Yeah, Tan Franz put that on his account, I shared it because it's the truth. Like we've been like, I mean, I even think about this show right here that you're listening to, Future Bachelor. Like we predominantly talk about like pop culture and things that was like built from a lot of like Black culture, Black art. Like think about it, like half the shit that like becomes like mainstream pop culture was already big like in Black Twitter, in Black culture, in wherever. And it's like, and then like, you know, white people hop on and we're like, it's cool now, like, or like just I guess like non-Black people, but like but yeah, so that's just it's just, I feel like, especially like, you know, we talk about on this show how like we don't always talk about serious stuff, but I feel like it would have been remiss of us to not talk about all this going on when we center our show around culture that is built from predominantly Black people.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, you know, this conversation will definitely go on and will go on for the rest of our lives. But I like, you know, just to kind of tie a bow on it, I kind of want to know your thoughts, Alma, on like what you think what you think could happen in the future. Like what do you think, like, do you think change is going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen this time around? Do you think?
I'm hopeful. I mean, I think it has to happen. Because we keep being told no, or people telling us like how to protest or how to go about doing things. But I mean, when we look at history and looking at like riots, not even just here in the United States. I mean, South Africa, same thing that was going on with apartheid. Like people were like, you shouldn't be protesting, you should be doing this differently. But change ended up happening. And so if things go as history has been, I'm hoping positive change will happen, that there will be stricter laws on law enforcement. I genuinely want to defund the police. And I know that a lot of people can't see what it looks like without like a police system. But there's, I mean, we treat a lot of things that should be handled by other people, social workers, people that have like drug abuse and get busted for drugs. They really should be seeing psychologists and psychiatrists so that they can get better, not necessarily put in a cell so that they can go through withdrawal and be beaten up, you know? And so I'm hopeful. I think change is going to come. I think it's going to be a bit longer than people expect.
Yeah.
I think people are like, why isn't this happening right now? And we're like, yo, like nothing happens within a week. It's just
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. And we also have a certain, Oompa Loompa right now for president.
Yeah.
So it's just that much harder. And so I like encouraging people to vote is really important. If we vote, things are going to change. They kind of have to.
Yeah.
And if hopefully things aren't put as barriers to prevent people from voting. But yeah, I think things are going to change. I'm staying positive. I have to, or else people go down a sad road of mental health.
Well,
Yeah, agreed.
I think all the things you're doing are great, and I really appreciate your thoughts, and I feel like I learned a lot, just talking to you in a conversation, and I hope I get to have more conversations with you about these things and other types of things in the future too. I would be interested also to hear your opinion as we get into some Bachelor news. I don't know if you're familiar with The Bachelor or not. It's kind of like the staple of this show. But just being honest, okay. But no, Hannah B was a former Bachelorette on the show, and recently she had gotten a lot of backlash for saying the N-word on Instagram Live while I guess performing alongside a rap song or something by DaBaby. So social media came down on her heavy, and just recently,
after 2 weeks of silence,
what happened?
Finally posted a video. She did a live. She posted it to her feed too, because that was the whole issue before. Is that her apology was like on her story only. It was like a whole like itty bitty thing, being like, "I'm sorry." Whatever. But so she did a full live, saved it to her like feed, saved like a whole highlight of different things. But like she pretty much like, talked about how she did a bunch of reflection, learning, whatever, especially during these times, and like trying to figure out, what's going on. But like she apologized more thoroughly. And then she also like said like, anybody who's out here trying to defend me, like stop defending me, which I think was like so important, because like she has a huge following, and it's like so many people like even within Bachelor Nation was like, we shouldn't go after Hannah, blah blah blah, like let's like leave her out, like whatever. And it's like, leave her alone, like whatever, like everyone makes mistakes. And she's like, no, like don't fucking defend me, like I did something wrong, and this wasn't the move. It took her a while. Like I can say like, maybe that's good that she did the work over the 2 weeks. Maybe who knows how much work she actually did. And she was really trying to.
Rome wasn't built in a day though, V. We'll just say that. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about it a little earlier. You had said you've even dealt with it with your own family, but like, what are your thoughts on the N-word being in rap songs and people singing along with them, and what you and her?
Like, just don't. Like, if you're not black, just don't say it's not gonna kill you, homie. Like I literally one of
the
my
funny part is that she censored the F word out of it. She had censored herself. Yeah, she censored the F word out of it, but she ended up saying the N word.
It's okay. I already texted V because I have some like business things, so this is probably going to be my last comment, and we'll catch up. Side, we'll have more conversations.
Hell yeah.
But like, I know you know better, girl. Like, it's just like one of those things. Like you have seen it somewhere. Someone has probably told you, but you didn't care. Right. Like at that time. Like that's what it is. Like, you're old enough to understand. You're not a 13-year-old listening to a Kendrick Lamar song who are singing along, And so, I'm glad that she's saying, don't defend me. I don't think it should have taken 2 weeks to do that, to like make an apology. What was it? One of my favorite makeup influencers, Jackie Aina, she's like done multiple posts of like being like, it's really easy to not say the N-word in a song. Watch. And she did a song that has like N-word all the time, and she's just like da 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 da, like, and just like quiet. And she's like, do you see how easy that was? Like, if you can censor the F word, which is a word you can say, then
what? It's kind of inexcusable.
I honestly it was like a 12-minute long video, and it was very exhausting. I tried to watch the whole thing just to see, like, you know, she had notes and the whole thing, and she's just a terrible talker too. Like it's just like,
she is not eloquent.
So if you haven't seen it yet, it's a pretty cringy. It's a pretty cringy apology, but she did what she had to do, I guess. So good for her. But Alma, I'm gonna say thank you once again for being on the show, and you definitely have to come back and be a guest again. And we gotta party sometime in the future in real life when we can start seeing people again.
Yeah, you and OK have to come back to Atlanta, but
or I gotta come out there.
Come to Denver.
Yes.
It's nice.
I was supposed to.
Yeah.
I was supposed to.
I know. If you like craft beer, we have a ridiculous over amount I think is trash, but people love it out here. So
I feel you. Well, I'll have to take you up on it sometime.
Do you have anything you want to promote before you hop off, Alma?
Yeah.
Not yet. But
when you do,
I guess Instagram. I have an Instagram. Ramos948. Or no, it's not anymore.
It's not that anymore.
It's alma.rosa48. Alma.rosa48. God damn, I knew that.
I like how I knew.
No, it's
Following
not.
now.
Alma Rosa.
Okay, but thank you all so much for having me on here. We'll definitely meet up sometime. I'll be happy to be back at any point that y'all need me.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give you a round of applause. See you later, Alma.
Bye.
Bye. V, that was really fun. What a conversation. She's really cool. I'm glad you invited her on the show this week.
I know. That's my girl.
Yeah, that's your girl. Since we're still talking about Bachelor, big breakup happened in Bachelor Nation this week. Why don't you tell our listeners about it?
Yeah, Cassie and Colton broke up. I mean, I'm not super surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm not either, actually.
I guess they just grew apart. They're like, we're better off as friends. And I'm like,
I never really thought she liked him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it seemed like at the end of the show. And then when they even did end up getting together, I'm like, I don't know, like, the signs pointed to that she wasn't really in it to win it. So, I don't know.
She's going to probably go and find some other guy and marry him and stuff. But Colton, I wonder what will happen to him. Do you think he's going to get a girlfriend, or is he going to be single for a long time?
I'm sure he'll get another girlfriend. He had Allie Raisman before he went on the show. He was a football player before he went on the show. I'm not really worried about him.
I'm interested to see who he ends up with, but saw that one coming. So, why don't we get into our slapper of the week this week? I really like this song. It's a couple weeks old, but I'm still listening to it. And I'm a huge fan of T-Pain. Chris Brown, not so much, but you can't deny he's got talent and he makes hits. You know what I'm saying?
Problematic fave.
Yeah.
Not fun.
But this song produced by T-Pain, it's called Wake Up Dead, and it's a bop, and I really like it. So the slapper of the week is called Wake Up Dead by T-Pain featuring Chris Brown. Without further ado, let's go.
Slapper of the week.
This song slaps.
Yeah, slapper of the week, Wake Up Dead by T-Pain featuring Chris Brown. What do you think, V? You like that one?
I heard it when it came out. I mean, like, it's good.
I don't know. I've always been a huge T-Pain's fan.
I mean, I love T-Pain.
Yeah.
I love T-Pain. Like, the verses between him and Lil Jon was my fave.
Yeah, to me, it's weird because I feel like T-Pain is underrated. He's one of those. I know he was in that matches, but like in that verses, but I feel like he's just not looked at like the goat he is, you know. And now
it's like he has a lot of like party hits. So I feel like a lot of times people are like, like this is when I'm drunk in the club, I'm listening to T-Pain. But it's like he has good music. It's good music,
right? And like specifically this one, to even get Chris Brown on your song and stuff, like that's like huge thing. I just think that one's really smooth. So check it out. Get it on your Spotify. So we got that on our playlist, so check that out. Oh, cool thing. Speaking about Spotify, I'm actually now like a verified artist on Spotify.
I saw that.
So, yeah. And it allows me to give me like a list to like my playlist and stuff. So I got Future Bachelor podcast playlist going right from my artist playlist or my artist page. So check me out, Shashi on Spotify and Future Bachelor podcast playlist, and everywhere you listen to podcasts, listen to us. Well, I do you have any shout outs for you this week?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out one of my really good friends from Mizzou. Her name is Ashley Holt. She just started her new job where she's one of the reporters that helped launch this new network with NBC. It's NBC LX. And it's kind of like, I don't want to like get cheesy and call it, but like a millennial like news network. But it definitely.
Oops, sorry, a little.
You're fine.
I could throw a trigger finger on there. My finger got heavy.
But she's just an incredible journalist, reporter, host. And she's been doing amazing things already on the network. She is a Black woman, so she's been doing a lot of really awesome reporting. And I'm just really excited for her because she's a boss bitch.
That's awesome. Shout Ashley.
And then I wanted to shout out my youngest brother, Jack. He is only 18. He'll be 19 in a couple of months, but like he is right now one of my inspirations during this time because he's just like so smart. And he's been doing a lot of work, like cleaning up our hometown, doing different things to help support people, as well as like writing to the senators and representatives in Illinois and, making sure people are registered to vote and like things like that. And just like educating, his circles of people. And I don't know, I wanted to shout him out because like he's just, a youngster out there just doing the damn thing.
Shout out the baby bro, Jack. Proud of you, bro.
Yeah. And then obviously I wanted to shout out Alma, like, because I'm happy she was able to come on with us today. And, she is also another inspiration for me, always.
Alma, you the shit. Well, I kind of just wanted to shout out everyone that's trying to stand on the right side of history. There's a lot of things, happening in the world, and I think as long as we're like, in our heart of hearts, like trying to do what's right and what's good, and and show more love than hate. I think a lot of good things can happen. And then I also wanted to shout out UV because I really respect you for adding an element to this show that sometimes can go over my head, and just for the fact of inviting Alma on here to talk about these issues. And you're right, we do talk about a lot of things that revolve around the Black community, and it's only right for us to talk about things that need to be talked about right now. And I enjoyed having that conversation. I wanted to give you a shout out for always getting me to open my mind up a little bit more and have these conversations and stuff. So
thanks.
You do good.
Just doing what I can.
I guess I'm flying to California tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going out of town.
Yeah, I'm going to be flying.
You're going to actually be on a plane.
I'll let you guys know what happens, what's like out there in my travels. But I'm hoping it goes pretty smooth. I'll be wearing a face mask during the whole thing. I guess that's what you got to do now on a plane.
Yeah, you gotta.
And I'll be flying to San Diego and then driving up to Palm Springs for the weekend to celebrate my friend Sterling's birthday. Actually, shout out to her.
Yeah.
So it should be cool. I'll be flying out Thursday, coming back on Monday. So a quick little short trip to Cali, but I need to get away. I need to see what the West Coast looking like. So that should be good. Do you have any plans for this weekend?
I have therapy. I got a inflatable stand-up paddleboard, and I am going to like this paddleboard thing, I think, this weekend. So that's what I'm doing.
Dope.
And then probably, looking at other things, probably buying some books, looking for our businesses to patron that is supportive. Things like that. Just continuing. I mean, I think it's like a super important time right now to like, as Alma said earlier, like I'm exhausted and like I'm a fucking white person and I'm doing a lot of work to like read, consume, learn, whatever, but it's also like super important for anybody of any color right now who's doing that kind of work to also like take time to rest, because then like how else are we gonna like continue doing what we do best if we don't rest? So that's like some tough love to myself because like I'm not. So
don't burn yourself out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you're taking some time for yourself this weekend. Well, we'll be back next week with episode 116. I can't believe we're saying those, right? Like, it's kind of
Isn't
crazy.
it weird? It feels weird. Like, I feel like we just had 100.
Do you have a prediction of when we're gonna actually like do these shows together again? Like, do you have just like a pool?
I think like soon. I think right now, especially with like our increased interactions, especially with like protests or things like that, like I think it's better to err on this side of safety. And also the fact like we're under curfew. So like, I don't know if it like I would have to make sure, like we're recording right now Wednesday evening. I would have to make sure I'd be like on my way out soon so I could get home before curfew.
That's true.
So that's something.
I mean, the Amber Alert too.
Yep.
The curfew alert, public safety alert.
Public safety
alert. Isn't that
alert.
crazy? They can just send that to our phones now.
Yeah.
Just go home. Like you're
like
you're
bitch
done.
stay. Yeah.
You're done. Go home.
Yeah, like go to your room.
Yeah, 9 p.m. Go to your room. And yeah, this is my room because like I live in a studio apartment, so it is like a go to your room.
Literally.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll have some crazy stories to tell you next week, but until then, I will miss you and our listeners as well. And everyone hold it down, be safe, and tell somebody you love them. And we will see you next week, all right? This has been Future Bachelor. My name is Sai.
I'm Veronica.
And this is how we do. Deuces!
Bye!
Future Bachelor Podcast.